Okay, so MBT Book Club, we're finishing off book 1. We're looking at chapters 32, 33, 34. Before we start, we'll set our intention. So the intention for us is to come together and just collectively hold compassionate, loving space for one another. We really seek to understand each other and hold each other in a very positive space, an accepting space of introspection, so that we can really look within and navigate this inner world, this inner journey. So there's no criticism or judgment. There's just acceptance and love. Why don't we go around and do a check-in and see what everyone thought of this material? Who wants to start?
It was all about the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Nesting Russian dolls, or something that can expand and contract.
Dolls.
Getting us ready for kind of wrapping up a little bit about what he said, and then getting ready for book 2, which I'm really excited about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Daniel, what do you think?
I liked it. Like what Donna said, we're nested within reality frames within reality frames, and I'm listening to a Bruce Lipton book right now as well. He talks about that as well.
Oh,
really? Wait, what are you listening to, Daniel?
Bruce Lipton.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He talks about how he talks about fractals as well.
Yeah.
How we're nested within things. So it's kind of neat how I'm reading Tom and listening to Bruce, and they're talking about the same thing. They're different, their own spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you listening to a book or a podcast? Or?
It's an audiobook I'm listening to.
What's the name of the book?
It's The Biology of Belief.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, that's right. Biology of Belief. His seminal book.
Yeah.
I need to go look at that one.
And he's got another one. Let me see if I can find it here. The Spontaneous Evolution. It was a 3-week podcast that he had with I don't know who the lady was, but he would basically bring up the same subject or the same topics as the biology of belief, but a little bit deeper.
Be good.
That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Nice. Yeah, they're homies, Bruce and Tom.
Yeah.
They, I don't know if I've mentioned this podcast before, but there's a podcast called Path 11.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think they just interviewed Bruce recently, and they interviewed Tom like early, like they're in their 100, maybe they've done 200 now, and Tom was maybe in their 20s or something like that.
What's the name of it?
Path 11. It's completely and they're very prolific.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You guys keep talking over each other. I still don't know.
Great. Path 11.
Path 11, I got it. I think I've seen that. Yeah, Path 11.
Yeah, they've done documentary series with Tom. They did a series of 3 as well. But the
Path 11.
podcast, I just find it's an unbelievable resource. I think it comes out almost weekly, and it's another, person that's thinking about these issues. So it's an easy way to listen to a lot of that different kind of stuff. Anyway, so my perspective on these chapters was just like, oh, this is kind of, it's not that the concepts are easy, but it was just, I felt like I didn't have to underline a lot of stuff. I could just read it. And so it was kind of just fun, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, Dean, how about you?
That leaves me. Yeah, some of it was slow going for me. I found I had to really grasp the concept. I had to reread a paragraph a couple times and kind of stop and conceptualize what was being laid out. It was a good synopsis of everything we've covered already.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a Reader's Digest, some of it, which was nice to encapsulate everything that we've absorbed up to this point, which has been a lot, all the way through book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the way that you've outlined some of your stuff, Vanessa. It's cool how you got 3 little highlighters and you've gone through and underlined each sentence instead of just, me, I'll just circle the whole thing or cover it in highlighter.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. Cheers.
Right on. So I didn't highlight much this time around. I was feeling like, okay, too big. I don't need to go that big. Like, come on.
Hey.
So, all good. So, yeah, like I said earlier, I was excited to kind of finish book 1 and get on to book 2. The more personal side of things. Because, yeah, a lot of this just sounds too theoretical for me. I'm more like, okay, how do I apply to my life? I want to grow, I want to get out of the mind and into the being level, or out of the intellect.
Yeah, out of the analytical.
Yeah.
Into the feeling, into the heart, into the vibration.
Yeah, which is why I was so pleasantly surprised to see Tom's new video come out. I'm looking forward to us. Are you guys on board with that? So maybe the next one we can discuss that video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, love it.
I haven't had a chance to watch this one yet, but that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll have the week to. I'm going to watch it again and take notes this time. Last time I just had it on in the background. But,
Cool. Yeah, that'd be good.
awesome. Okay, so let's get started. Chapter 32. Does anybody have anything there on the first page?
He said the whole thing was about our limitations, and he's getting us ready for our inability to comprehend because it's so big and it's going to be so different and big.
Yeah.
Of reading Flatlandia. So I think he put us in dimension number 2, I think, in Flatlandia, but about, see how important it is to appreciate your fundamental limitations on 277. So I kind of like that, your limitations. And your limitations are sometimes driven or conditioned by ego beliefs and fear. That's the big thing on page 277. Otherwise I put words like yikes, dang, things like that.
Yikes.
Yikes, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only part I had underlined too. It's on 277, the second to last paragraph, the last sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about being open-minded and skeptic. And that you put aside your normal knee-jerk responses, which have been conditioned by your ego beliefs and fear, in order to recognize all the possibilities. I like that because, yeah, we have been conditioned to act out in certain ways, and that's from our fear that we call our subconscious, because we don't even own our fear. We relegate it to the darkness of our subconscious mind that we say we can't even we don't even know what's in there, right? And then our subconscious makes us act out in ways that we don't understand. And so he refers to those as like the knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think that's important because now if we want to be mindful and aware, kind of my first reaction, I want to check it and be like, wait a minute, is that the ego? Let me look at that for a second. And then often when we look at it, we're like, no, that's not the ego, and it's just the ego justifying its own behavior, So sneaky. So I'm thinking on our next call, when we do when we look at that video, we can talk about some personal experiences or examples of how that shows up, how the ego shows up, and give like real life situations, how we've overcome that, how we've noticed the ego, what we've done to get rid of it.
Sounds like a vulnerable, maybe a little vulnerable territory.
Yeah, it will be.
I think that's a great way to learn through example.
Through example, right? Yeah, real life experience.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have anything from that chapter, 32?
I guess the only thing I would just say is my reaction to it was I kind of love that he's placing us in this space of, you know, it's all so big you can't really understand it, and in a way a lot of it's not important. That felt quite freeing. And then, you know, but also remember not to be limited. But it was sort of like, ooh, this is like a fun chapter. I can just sort of very broadly get what he's talking about. Like, we're teeny tiny and there's lots of other stuff out there, but it doesn't matter because we have to be grounded in this reality. Like, woohoo! It just felt like, I don't know, I just enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's all bonus stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, for sure. So how about 33? Infinity gets too big for real pictures.
I highlighted a lot, underlined a lot, made a lot of notes.
Okay. Cool. What stood out for you there, Donna?
And again, he's talking about the nesting, and to me, it's again, he's trying to. I wrote down, tear down your wall to see the big picture, and he talks about why our rule set works for us, but it's not going to work for anything above or below or out 100 billion times. Or I think he talked in terms of that, and talked, and I think he addressed the religious in the room that would say God is the LCS and God is infinite. And he kind of addressed that, you know, like, really? Like, do you know what infinite means? And he kept going out exponentially. He said that's not even close to what really infinite means. And you don't have to be infinite. And on page 283, he comes back to his two assumptions. You have to have consciousness and you have to have evolution. And so he's telling us, if you're a scientist, there's nothing that you'll be able to do to understand this. No experiment or rule set that you're going to be able to use to go out into these worlds or down into the smaller worlds. But our rule set is just for us. And he goes back to the macro and micro view, and how scientists are so arrogant. And I was at lunch with someone yesterday, and another person actually brought up consciousness, and I saw the scientist, biologist, kind of cringe. And I thought, oh, I'll never be able to talk to this group about these things, because it's not that he's arrogant, but in some way he's scientifically arrogant. So it's like,
I think of that as being dogma, like he's got the dogma of science. It's kind of like speaking to someone that's very attached to the dogma of their religion. And it's not about the purity of their religion, but about the dogma. And you see it, they can be so unbelievably dogmatic that, well, it can't be true, as opposed to it's not true because of this, but it can't be true. It's really fascinating. I find that really interesting as people who are trained to be curious, and you know, it's really interesting that they do have a belief structure that can be so dogmatic. Yeah,
That's his religion.
Yeah, it really is. It's the religion of science.
Yeah.
And I think he addressed too the people that say, I've run into these people lately. Well, how do you know what you know? Because it can't be proved. Whatever you're experiencing, it's just you. Whatever you're experiencing, it's just brain. And then they use science to prove that it's all in your brain. So again, it's dogmatic, it's scientific, it's very difficult. And Tom addressed folks early on and now back here that you have to be curious, and then suspend your beliefs was the biggest thing he could have told me at the beginning was suspend your beliefs and assumptions. And it's taken me all kinds of places. So he's saying, you know, what's out there isn't us. Don't look for us out there. A lot of scientists going, is there life on Mars? And they're expecting it to be our life or life on this place. And so I like that. I like the idea of the macro view, the micro view. When we start going out, it's going to be different because our rule set is just for us and that we're evolving. So consciousness and evolution was really important in this chapter.
Yeah. On page 282, he says there in the middle, I guess, yeah, right in the middle there, the last sentence. When you learn to move your awareness between dimensions, you will be amazed at the diversity of life forms that share our consciousness ecosystem. It kind of echoes what you're saying there, Donna, is that it's not all like us. There's not all these humans everywhere. It's very vast and diverse. He also goes on in the next paragraph to say, what difference does the existence of other reality systems make? Until one or more of these realities interact with your reality, the answer is none whatsoever. Absolutely none. It is a fact that our system is only one of many evolving reality systems, but this particular fact is of no practical importance to your current task of reducing your entropy within the PMR Learning Lab. So then that goes back to what Sylvia was saying, is that, there's a lot out there, but it's not that important, so.
I don't have to worry about that bit.
Yeah.
You're doing the happy dance, Sylvia.
I know, seriously.
Woohoo!
However, if you do go out there,
Yeah, exactly.
learn to move your awareness between dimensions. And I think for me, that helps my evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it does become important, but ultimately it doesn't. And that's the Zen that he does on my head. Remember when we were in Tennessee, I said, so let me get this straight. You have to be quiet and then talk. You have to be passive and then active. So there's all these opposites. Here's another one. So it doesn't make a difference, however, and to me, I love it because it's making my mind become a duality. If I have to be quiet, then I have to talk. If I have to be passive, then I need to be active. And it's learning, to me, it's learning that duality. You have to be conscious yet evolve. And I learn. He's saying learn. He doesn't say not learn. He doesn't stop with just what difference does it make. He says learn to move your awareness between dimensions. So to me, that's a marching orders for me. And I wrote down in the book for Suzanne. This is for Suzanne. It doesn't make any difference. Because if she was here, she would be saying, what difference does it make? Right? She would say that. And I love that. But don't forget there's other people where it does make a difference. It makes a difference that to know we're not alone, but everything else is different.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn to evolve. For some people, that evolution means that kind of awareness.
Yeah, this is a good reminder that this is not the end all, be all, our reality as we know it. And for me, it was a good reminder to just break out of any kind of shell that I've created, which is a lot, things that we are used to thinking every day or seeing all the time becomes our fixed reality. And after a while, the dogma, for scientists maybe becomes something they think was founded on evidence, but it's not necessarily evidentiary the way I think about many particular thing, like my own limitations, interpersonal dynamics, social skills, or anything really. That there's a lot bigger reality and possibilities than maybe I think about on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up as well, is that it's not all about me and the way that I see the world, that there's 7.5 other perspectives in this reality as well, And then they're even beyond this reality.
Yeah, yeah. And not only that, even for myself or any one of these 7.5 billion, there's so much more than what we're used to thinking of as reality, you know, daily survival and get up and have breakfast and go to work and, you know, our 9 to 5 gig. There's a lot deeper possibilities of thinking. Yeah.
And that we just often get stuck on autopilot, and we become conditioned, like, you know, we looked at earlier, we become conditioned to think the same thoughts over and over again. I know Joseph Denza says, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, the conditioning, Vanessa.
Program. You're running the programs.
Right.
You're running your own program.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's what I love about this, is that it's really interrupting that pattern and reprogramming to look at things a different way. Look at the bigger picture.
Well, they say that your subconscious is running your life 99 to 95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not aware of what's going on, then your subconscious is going to figure out what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Daniel, I couldn't understand that last.
I said it's your subconscious that's running your life 99 to 95% of the time.
Right. Autopilot.
So it's running your life on autopilot. It's through all your experiences that it's learned from the past, you're using those to control your life.
Yeah. And that we're oftentimes not reacting to things that are happening in the present moment, but things that happen in the present moment trigger stuff that's happened, you know, 20, 30 years ago, and then we react to that trauma that we haven't healed from the past.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we're immersed in that 90 to 95% thinking of like, oh yeah, this is normal, this is reality, instead of being mindful or aware here and now, Zen like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys know who Gabor Mate is?
Never heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
No?
No.
I guess, Daniel, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's a Vancouverite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he talks a lot about the subconscious mind and our conditioned behaviors. I just got a quote from him yesterday. That's why. So I'll share it with you guys if you like.
Yeah, do.
Yeah, please.
He says, I'm 100% responsible for who I am in this relationship. My task is to free myself sufficiently so that I can respond in the present moment, not from past programming. That's what freedom is. So basically, yeah, it's kind of encapsulating what I just said, is that we're always reacting to things from our past, even though we're saying that it's from something that somebody else did in the present, or a situation that's happening in the present. But as Tom would always say too, is that it's never, nobody can make you feel the way that you feel. It's up to you. You're choosing to be angry. You're choosing to be frustrated. It's never anything external. And that's a really hard concept for a lot of us to grasp.
That's really hard.
Wow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it, I mean, not to get too personal, but I find that, you know, when I have conflict with my husband, which thankfully isn't that much, because honestly, he's so sweet. I'm so lucky. He's like super, super sweet. I'm a little spicier, but he's super, super sweet. And the things that I react to, that sort of small subset of things that, you know, really push my buttons, is something it's never about what's happening in that moment. It's about the fact that thing has happened so many times. And I think, how can, like, you continue to do this one thing that I'm asking you not to, it's the pattern. So I'm not reacting to that moment. I'm each time I'm reacting to the 100 times that it's happened, or whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah.
I know that it's my responsibility not to react. But it's so hard, because I'm like, well, why can't they just do that one thing? Like, why? And so, so intellectually, it's my responsibility, but emotionally, I'm like, no, it's your fault.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I have a really hard time with that. I'm working. I really try hard to get it, and I fail.
Yeah, and that's when you can notice that that's the ego right there, is because you're making it about you, right? You're like, you have an expectation that he should be, rather than actually just accepting him for who he is and just accepting the fact that he doesn't put the lid on the toothpaste or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
totally. But in the moment, it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
And I've made progress, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And that could be a little slightly different situation too, where you're reacting in the moment and your reaction is stronger than this one single occurrence, but it's based on this pattern that repeats. So even though you're reacting to the one thing, it's still, your reaction may be justified, possibly. I don't know if it's the lid on the toothpaste or the seat on the toilet, or
No. But
maybe
I
gas in
no,
the
I
vehicle
totally
and you
agree.
run out of gas. It might be a reaction that is substantiated because it has accumulated and has the weight
Where's-
of 30 other times prior, which may be a slightly different situation than some other
And
things.
probably then from lifetimes of being a woman and not feeling listened to, or whatever it is. Like there's something else underneath it as well. So there's like all this stuff, and you're reacting to this thing. And so, you know, there's got to be space for sort of feeling like, well, you know, there's also some validity to that, but I still have to control my reaction to it. So it gets complicated. It's hard being human.
Now,
Yeah.
good point. Maybe there's previous lifetimes of experience that have absolutely nothing to do with him or what he's done. And
Yeah. Or it could even be in this lifetime. It could be, you know, when you were a kid, you saw that your mom would get frustrated with your dad for doing the same thing over and over again. And now you feel like that's the way to be for a woman to be heard, is you have to get upset or whatever it is, right? But there is
point.
For sure.
there's something at the root there. Dan's here.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Suzanne.
You okay?
Yeah, I forgot to set my alarm, and I'm not a morning person. So when I woke up, it was like, wow, I woke up before the alarm. Look at that. And, nope.
Well, at least you didn't sleep through the whole thing, you know, and slept till here. So.
There are days when I could. I'm
Well, you're
sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry.
You're here now. It's good.
Glad to know you're okay.
Yeah, I stay up too late at night, and then I just don't get up well in the morning.
Donna took care of your comments anyway for us.
I was
so
you today.
Oh, okay.
I was you. I said, what does that matter? It's not practical. Come on.
She filled in for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did my best, Suzanne. You'll have to look at the video replay.
And so actually, Suzanne, you'd be proud because we are actually right now we're having a discussion around something that's very practical. So we're talking about being in reactive mode, like the knee-jerk reaction, and how that's fueled by fear. And often the root cause of it is something that occurred very long ago, maybe in childhood or a previous relationship, and then something will happen in the present moment and we'll react to that something, thinking that it's that something that's causing us to feel the anger or whatever it is, but it's actually the thing that happened way back in the past that we're reacting to because we never healed from that first thing.
Yes, there's actually a guy who wrote a book, and he has a method for trying to get over. I can't remember what it's called. When I figure out what it's called, I'll send you the name of it. But it's the presence process. But he has these breathing techniques that you do, but he says really a lot of what happens in your life is because of unhealed traumas from your childhood and your reactions to things now are caused by that.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. Check that out.
Yeah, in some cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I've heard Tom say too is that oftentimes people will ask, so okay, I get it, I'm here to evolve, let go of my fear, let go of my ego, but how do I do that, right? And so I've heard Tom say that the way you do it is by picking just one fear at a time, one thing that you can work on, and something really specific. So the example that Sylvia was giving us, that would be a really great opportunity to pick on one thing. So, and then we can tell us the specifics around it, but we said, okay, well, maybe it's that your husband leaves the lid off the toothpaste, and then she gets frustrated, right? So using that one example, so you would say to yourself, okay, that's obviously my ego. I'm making it about me. I am going to be determined to come from a place of love and compassion and empathy towards him, and understand that he's just being who he's being. He's not being malicious. He's not doing stuff at me. And I really care about him, so I'm going to send him love, and I'm not going to react to that particular situation. And then work on it. And he's like, it might take, 6 months, it might take a year. But once you overcome that fear, then you'll get some traction. You'll be able to do another fear and another one. But he says it's to be very specific, just one at a time.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Practical advice. And then that way you chisel away, right? You actually find something that's tangible and you have a tactical attack plan. Yeah.
It's one of the things I've often thought about doing, but I haven't done, is because of my experiences with this clairvoyant that talks about these past life experiences. And a lot of times she would, tell you things in terms of past lives and whatever, is that what would be kind of interesting is, even if you don't know what it is to make up the past life story that makes you reactive. Like, be like, okay, like, so it's not a big mystery. The thing with my husband that drives me crazy is that he answers questions that you're not asking. So I'll be like, oh, where in the grocery store do you get that turkey? And he'll say, it's on display. And I'm like, oh, like, what do you mean? Do you get it at the deli counter or the thing? And he'll just say, oh, it's on display. Like, he'll just keep answering a question I haven't asked, so that I'm like, Blair, please answer the question that I'm asking. I'm asking you, like, you go to the deli guy and say, please slice 5 slices, or like, is it in a, is that, yes or no? Like, tell me that thing. And he'll say, oh, it's on display. And at some stage I'm like, ah! And it really drives me crazy. And he's not trying to not listen. Like, he's a sweet guy, but for some reason he's not hearing, and then he can't express it. It's something that does make me reactive. And I often think I really genuinely think it has like to do with some past life thing about like not feeling heard or not feeling listened to. And so it's got nothing to do about whether he's answering my question. But as someone who prides themselves in being very specific about language and being very clear, it drives me crazy that my clarity does not actually work.
Right. Listen to what I'm saying.
Anyway, so if I can
hearing the words coming out of my mouth.
Say it again.
Oh, I said, you like, listen to what I'm saying. Are you hearing the words coming out of my mouth?
Yeah. Or I'll be like, do you know what the weather is going to be? And he'll say like, oh, I'm going driving tomorrow. And I'm like, I didn't ask about that, so it's just a funny dynamic that he has. And he's a lovely man. It's got nothing to do, but it's just, it's just something that irrationally makes me reactive. And so if I tell myself the past life story that says, oh, this is because in the past I've felt like I'm not listened to as a woman, then it helps depersonalize it. And then I can start working on it, even if that's just an allegory for what's going on. Do you know what I mean? You can almost create your own allegory that says, and that can depersonalize the situation. And then you can say, okay, well, I'm going to work on that because this has got nothing to do with this. And it makes it more about me and solving my issue rather than about, why can't you just answer the question I asked you?
Sure, and maybe you're right on the money, or maybe you're not. But either way, it gives your mind some other way of deflecting the reaction.
And makes it clear that it's your thing to work on rather than they're driving you crazy.
Yeah, and his mind may just have a quirk of associating an answer for something that's, the next link in the chain. The answer is tomorrow's going to be sunny, so therefore I'm going driving. So it's like the next thing in his thought process, and he gives you that instead of the first thing, which is what you asked for. And what you can do is maybe take his...
If you're thinking about that person and you're thinking about what they're doing wrong, then it's not making it about you growing. And so I can easily, there's a part of me that feels like, you're just a man and trying to guess what I'm asking, but I'm actually very clear about what I'm asking, please. But that's me putting something on him.
Yeah, because it doesn't have anything to do with
why you're doing it, which I don't think that is why he's doing it. I think he just doesn't, he's not paying that. He's like an absent-minded professor. He's not. There's no ill intent. It's not that he's not trying to listen.
Yeah, it may just be an odd quirk.
About my past life, then it's clear that it's my issue to solve. That's all I'm trying to say. Is like it's a technique to make it clear that it's about you rather than about them.
He might not be aware that he's doing it, but it's his subconscious that's doing it because he's done it ever since he was a child.
Yeah. When I react, he's pretty aware.
Yeah, but you're picking up on it. You're picking up on it, and it's bugging you.
Yeah.
I do remember Tom saying, though, that being in these relationships is an excellent way to work on things that we need to work on.
Hey. Absolutely.
That's one of our life lessons, I guess, is learning how to relate with people.
And, and something you could do, Sylvia, like if he keeps answering you, oh, it's on display, you could instead change your question up to a slightly, alter the way you're coming at him. Say, where is the display located?
Yeah, I've tried all that. I think it's really just about my reaction. That's like the issue. It's
Sure.
like, it is a dynamic, but nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. And that's just, I think the issue is why I like playing with the past life allegories is that then it makes it clear it's about my reaction, and that's what I have to work on.
Yeah, interesting thought. I'll try that with some different things.
Yeah. In fact, I always want to write a movie which has like all these characters and what's happening between the characters, and then these sidebars that are showing that each character's past life story that is making them react in that context. Like that would be such a cool movie.
Yeah,
Or
you
I
could
want
have
someone
like
else
the
to write it, 'cause
main
I'm not a movie writer. But
yeah, you could have the main plot and everything moving there, and then you could zoom in or flash in, back or forward even, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
no, it'd have to be back, right? 'Cause reacting from, so you could flash back to whatever prior life experience. That would be cool.
So yeah, totally. I just want to comment on one more thing before we move forward. Is that I love your awareness, Sylvia, and realizing it is about you and how you're reacting, and then when you can trace it back to the initial cause of your reaction. Maybe it is a past life, maybe it's something in life that happened in childhood, maybe it's something in a previous relationship with a friend or a man or something. Once you can trace it back, even if it is fictional, it does help you, because then you're like, okay, this is the real reason. It has nothing to do with him. And then that can help you to have compassion for him. And I feel like, and I've noticed this in my own life, is that when I react from a place of love and compassion rather than fear and ego, I really soften up, and it changes the way that I look at other people. Even the person that I might be angry towards changes the way that I see them. And then I see them as this like innocent being who's just doing the best that they can. And then my approach towards them really softens up. And then they end up not giving me what I want, but then it ends up transforming the situation to what I actually wanted in the first place. So that in this example, maybe you would be having a question and you wanted to ask your husband the same thing about, where's the chicken? Where'd you get that chicken? And so maybe your approach would be like, you'd really want to connect with him, and then you would hold his arm and like look at him in the eyes lovingly and be like, baby, where did you see that chicken? And he might be responsive to that. He's supposed to love and want to give to you rather than being reactive. So just when you have that awareness, it really changes your approach towards things and the way that you see people and the way that people respond to you too. It changes everything, just starting with you, right?
Yeah, and you can sort of think of it on two levels. I think you're right. One is to help you find a solution so that it doesn't happen, like trying what you suggest. But the other and that is great because that often works, and then the conflict is resolved. Yeah. But when that doesn't happen, recognize that I can't always control how other people are going to be, even if this is how I want them to be. And I still, even if I've tried everything, I still have to deal with my reaction to it. I may have to just accept this is what it is, and now I've just only have my reaction. And so it's kind of two things. It can be problem solving and be super effective, but even if sometimes you have to accept that problem is not getting solved, and now I just have to deal with my reaction to it because that's the issue. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
but
and then
your reaction takes work.
Yeah, and then your reaction changes your approach, and so maybe then your reaction your approach is not even to ask him. Maybe it's to ask the deli clerk.
I would find that freaking turkey myself.
Okay.
I really like your possible solution, Vanessa. Grabbing him by the arm and looking at him lovingly. I wish maybe that had occurred in some of my relationships, and that's great. That's a great alternative.
I just noticed how effective it is with kids, because that's my trigger is my kids when they whine. then I go into reactive mode. But now I'm trying to change it to understand where they're coming from, and then be soft with them, and then really, meet them where they're at and connect with them. And that
Nice.
changes
Yeah,
it.
that's great.
Okay, so should we go back?
What page are you guys on?
Who knows?
283, I think it is.
Which one? What?
283, I think it is.
283.
Yep.
Chapter 30.
That was an aside from our video here.
Oh, have you guys watched it all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't watched it yet. I've heard him talk about that, or maybe it was in the book, but I started watching it last night and it was just too late, and there was an hour and 8 minutes to watch. So
Yeah.
before next Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday.
You can do it.
Yes, I can.
You can do it.
I'll get up early and watch it.
And you put a link for that video in our thread, I think, right, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donna also posted it. Donna,
Avanti.
yeah, she also posted the link for it.
She did the
MBT.
interview.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here we go. The 3 paths to spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Cool.
Yeah. So back to the book. Did anybody have anything else from that chapter 33? I guess we're on 283. Third to last page.
Nope. Here.
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, the only thing I had highlighted, well, I had a couple things, but one line on 283 in the middle was that when you believe that you know but do not know, you cut yourself off from the possibility of ever knowing.
Right.
Yep.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ego that tells us that we know, right? Because if we admit that we don't know, then our fear gets triggered. We feel insecure or inadequate because we should know. So our ego is like, no, I do know. But it just
Right.
cuts us off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe being in bold. That's the key word there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe. Yeah. And then if you don't even realize that it's a belief, which is like goes back to what we were talking about earlier, going through reality with that 90 to 95% operating on subconscious, this is how everything is, instead of being aware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Cut yourself off from the possibility of ever knowing. Ooh,
Mm.
that's not good.
Yeah. Because of our fear of being in uncertainty, right? We need to be certain. We always want to know.
Right.
Fear of the unknown is what feels to be real.
Right. We tend to want to jump to this category to that category.
Mm-hmm.
Do we? It's hard to leave it in an uncertain place, not knowing, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So our ego wants to put it into, oh, I know, instead of remember, like, I don't know. So stay open.
Mm.
Yeah, Thomas said something along the lines of belief is like a favorite teddy bear. Like it feels safe and secure to cuddle up to it, but you need to let that go if you want to grow up. Okay, anything else in that chapter, 33?
No, man.
Okay, so then the last one, chapter 34. Last chapter of book 2.
Woohoo!
Anything stand out in that chapter?
Well, I wrote 3 things. He's reminding us to be open and skeptical, and I went back to belief, ego, and fear, and I wrote down suspend belief, offload your ego, and break apart your fear. So whenever I'm up against those things, I have a verb, an action. You know, I'm in a belief system. Oh, okay. Oh, this is a program I'm running. This belief I have. Let me suspend it in order to hear what he's saying. Oh, I'm in this situation in a relationship. It's my ego, and I try to offload that ego so I can be present at that time. And then if I have a fear, can I break it apart? Can I, kind of like what you were saying, Sylvia, can I make an allegory? Can I break it apart? Can I, understand why I'm fearful? And then to remain open and skeptical has really helped me. It says, it's talking about there's no need to make judgments or jump to conclusions. Do not believe anything for or against. Maintain an open mind. And if those are our three barriers, then I've put action verbs with them. It seems to help me become open and skeptical. Those are practical. I'm doing something practical. Just want you guys to know.
Good job.
Thank you. See, you guys have helped me. So suspend belief, offload ego, and break apart fear.
Good.
It helped me a lot. I just made that up.
That's
of being open and skeptical. Maybe I'll write a book.
You made it up good.
Yeah, get writing.
Nice. Okay. Anything else before we move into a closing circle? I guess we'll just keep this at an hour today because, yeah, there wasn't really that much in the 3 chapters. All right. Well, let's wrap her up then. So, closing circle, share any final thoughts.
Before you do, there's one thing I want you to notice on page 288, the last one. Made it this far and you still have the desire and gumption to go onward, award yourself with 4 beautiful gold stars. Mm-hmm. He's going to tell us when to get gold stars, and at the end he goes, do you know how many you collected? And in the 3 books, there are a certain number of gold stars. There are, and I'll give you the magic number, 17.
nice.
So collected 4 of the 17.
All right.
Cool.
Like a video game.
It's a little video game that I was playing. Like, oh, we got 4 gold stars. I'm gonna.
He's our teacher, and we've done well, so he's given us 4 stars.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, that's all I had to say. It's something silly.
That's good. So if we have the opportunity, if we're chatting with Tom, we can, start out.
We can tell, hey, we're on our 4th store.
Yeah.
Right, you can let him know. Oh, by the way, I'm a 17-star or a 17-star student.
In Tennessee, when Vanessa, Tom, and I were having lunch, I said I have 17 gold stars, and he looked at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And I was going, "Really? Come on."
Yeah, Tom, you told me to search for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm now better than other people because I have 17 gold.
I have 17.
Yeah.
And he looked like, you got to work on that ego, Donna.
But you told me to.
Yes.
I
But
thought I was gonna exchange my stars for some special Easter egg of knowledge.
something. Anyways, I thought I'd plant that in your mind so as we go along. Okay.
Great, thanks, Donna.
I just have one thing I wanted to say before we do the closing circle too, because I felt weird about something I said last week, so I just wanted to clarify. And it was when Vanessa, you said, you'd ask Tom about a past life experience with him, and he said, no, and you're like, oh gosh darn. And then I told you the story about Ellen, and I felt like it could have been interpreted to me say, oh, I did have past life experiences with Tom. But I mean, that's kind of, it's not only because I want to make sure you didn't think that, but also because it kind of misses the point of what I was saying, because I think what Tom was actually saying is like, I don't see those past life experiences with you, Sylvia, but she's got something about the quality of the nature of the relationship, which is important. So focus on that. So it was the whole allegory thing, which is how I've taken a lot of what I hear from Ellen. So that I just wanted to say that, you know, in a way, it's the same thing with you and your relationship with Tom, whether you have the past life experiences or not. There's something really beautiful and real about the nature of your relationship with him, and that's the important thing to focus on in this life. And so that was kind of the point of what I was trying to say in the story. And then afterwards I was like, I don't know that I really explained that fully, but he was sort of like, I don't see that, but the nature and the quality she's you know, definitely got on that, focus on that. So anyway, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because I was just thinking after you said that, I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then I was like, I bet you Tom and I have. He just doesn't want to tell me.
He just doesn't know. Yeah. We all have. Yeah.
And then I was actually thinking about you. I'm like, I probably know Sylvia too. We probably like hung out.
Totally. I think so.
That's so funny. That's where I went with it. And then I was like, I want to get that lady's number. I want to like look at some of my other friends.
Hey, if she was not ill, she's not taking any clients. Her name is Ellen Tad. You can go on her website, and in fact, Path 11 podcast does a podcast with her after she just came out with her last book.
Nice.
And so she's on there. I think she's around episode 199, 100, something like that. But her name's Ellen Tad. So you can go on her website, but she's unfortunately extremely ill right now. So she's completely gone into seclusion right now. But if she ever comes out of it, I think she's quite magical. She's helped me. I feel like I'm a much better parent as a result of her, because she really, you know, when my kids were driving me crazy, very specifically, she would take a lot of things that are happening in the now and give you ways to think about them that were just totally different, that how I feel like helped me evolve and grow a lot over the years. So I think she's amazing. But a lot of it's allegory, and that's what Tom would say. He's like, Sylvie, don't get caught up in dogma. She's very attached to the chakra system. And every time you mention the chakra system, Tom will say, "Oh, it's not real. It's just not." And she thinks it's real. And so I was like, okay, I'm quite happy. I don't really care whether it's real or not. But if you can use it and it works, fabulous. So, and the chakra system works for me. So I'm happy to think of it as allegory and have it work for me, you know? Anyway.
And I think the chakra system is, it could be real for you and not real for Tom. I think that works in my head because, like that, Sylvia, you created, or you said something like that. And it is your own personal vessel, you know, your second body vessel, but still, if that's your thought process, then, well, you know, if I want to have arms that stretch out to the walls, and then so I think of myself in the second body, well, they can stretch out, and then you can have chakras if that's the way you think about yourself. And this one can be centered on, you know, root and so on and so forth, you know, all the way up.
Yeah. Well, that's why Tom, I mean, I love what he says. Don't worry about what's real, worry about what is effective. So, you know, I'm like, the chakra system's effective for me. So I don't even spend time thinking about whether it's real. I just use it as a tool. And so for me, it's a tool. Whether it's real or not is irrelevant to me. But I mean, I know other people care, but I personally just am not. It doesn't matter to me. But if I can use it effectively as a tool, then I'm like, great, it's a tool.
I think so. Tom doesn't see chakras or think that they're there.
He says it can be a really effective tool, but it's not from what he can see, it's not real.
Yeah, it's something that we've made up and created. Not real.
It's a metaphor that we're using to explain what we see or feel or.
No, my understanding is it's intrinsic. It's a reality. It's part of your second body. You know, it's an energy center.
Yeah, that's what my friend Ellen would say too.
If you got out of your body and looked at how you were in a mirror, you know, connected, you know, if you're out of body, you know, they're not going to be there necessarily, but in body, they're part of how your system flows. You know, they're part of your chi, like Chinese, you know, Chinese chakra points, meridian points. There's a whole flow to your energy, and that's where the discipline of acupuncture comes from.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm an acupuncturist, Dean.
I did.
Are you really?
Yes.
That's super cool.
That's great.
Why are you laughing, Vanessa?
um, I guess my man, he was in bed still, and I guess he heard our conversation because he just came out of the bathroom and he had his face in the lid, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
That is funny.
Okay, guys, do you want to wrap it up with our closing circle now?
Yes.
So yeah, any final words or insights or comments that we want to make on book one? We're done, book one. Woohoo! What did you say, Donna?
4 stars, 4 stars.
I just want to say a big thank you to Vanessa for
Yes.
organizing this. This has been really meaningful to me.
Yes.
It's helped me a lot. I'm just so grateful that you took the initiative, particularly as I know you've read the book before, and I suspect I need this more than you do. So I just want to acknowledge and thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for this.
Yeah, and me and Daniel. Daniel and I we did this together last time, and now we're doing it together.
All right. Thank you, Daniel.
Although, Vanessa, did you say your man with the toothpaste?
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I heard a name or. That's funny. So you heard that part, and you left the cap off the toothpaste.
Yeah, yeah, he just came out of the bathroom, so he must have heard our conversation.
And he was like,
And he was like, "What the fuck?" Like pretending to calm down.
in a mocking, satirical way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
That's why I was laughing. I can't hide anything with this video. I'm always laughing on it. Yeah. So, what else? Final thoughts, comments about book one?
It's an awakening.
Sure is.
Yes, definitely.
A lot of information.
Lots.
Yeah, that too. Suzanne, what do you have to share about? What are your overall thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think from here on out it just gets deeper and deeper. So that's interesting. I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm still in wake up mode. Sorry.
You're not awake for the awakening.
Well, not for the end of the awakening.
The awakening.
Sleep on it,
I
Suzanne.
normally get up a little earlier so I can have coffee and get settled in, and you know.
We'll put a pin in that one and get back to us on it next week.
Well, next week, aren't we talking about that video?
Video, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking
definitely
forward to
watch.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is when it comes to practical things, I do rely a lot on Dr. Joe Dispenza because he really goes into fear, ego, maybe beliefs. And so his breaking the habit of being you is really, really good. And when I go to the big picture, I go to Tom. And then there's some things I do with the Monroe Institute. So I use as many tools as I can. Like Sylvia said, if you have a friend who's a psychic and they really resonate with you. So I think he's taught me a lot about open and skeptical at the same time. He's taught me a lot about being Zen, as I've said, being passive and active and being whatever the duality is. So I think out of all of them that I go to, either it's Joe or Bob or even Anita Morjani, he's the one that I go to for, he wrapped it up in that 3 paths to spiritual, or the 3 spiritual paths. But if I really want to evolve or move forward, it's Tom Campbell. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's the one that you can relate to the most.
He is, because he's a scientist and left-brained. And
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, all of this stuff comes from different perspectives sometimes. Well, yeah. Some of this stuff, or all of this stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Different point of view, he's got evidentiary stuff going, scientific thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
no one breaks my brain like Tom Campbell. No one can break my brain like him.
Yeah. And I like how he doesn't give us the answers. He gives us enough so that we have to explore. And try to figure it out herself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he looks like a skinny Santa.
He does. He does. I wonder if
never
there's a
look
picture
at
of him in a Santa outfit.
Hey, Donna and Sylvia, if you want, if it makes sense, maybe you could put a link to the people you're referencing, like Ellen in Sylvia's case, and who your
And
person
Path 11 as well.
Joe Dispenza, Bob Monroe, Anita. I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Bob Monroe quite well, but the others I don't recognize. But old Bob and I, we go way back.
He serves a purpose. It's helped me along the way, but I tend to do Joe, Tom, and Anita. And I think Anita, because she had a near-death experience, and so did I, so I relate to that, right, about their near-death experiences.
Cool. Yeah, we'll share the resources on the WhatsApp link.
Okay.
So, awesome.
Good idea, Dean.
Yeah, thank you. Does anybody have anything else to say about this?
Nope.
No? We're good? Okay.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Can't wait.
All right, I'm going to be on time
And a
next
fist
week.
bump.
Yeah, fist bump. Okay. See you guys.